Natalia Rivera is a therapist who works with neurodivergent adults. I love so much that her work is holistic and that she integrates somatic, neurodiversity affirming, and spiritually informed care. We talk about how spirituality can be a very powerful form of healing, right? And she says that it was an entry point for her before she even went to therapy. But trauma, she says, particularly in neurodivergent people, cannot be resolved through insight or belief alone. So we dive into the layers of that, what it means to be neurodivergent in a neurotypical world, what it means to mask, and the process of unmasking, the importance of self-diagnosis, just a very layered conversation. It felt like I was just chatting with an old friend and we just kind of were pinballing, our thoughts off of each other. It was a really, really beautiful conversation. Her energy is supreme. So I really do hope that you all feel the energy of this conversation and enjoy this chat. Connected in the Den, your cozy corner for truth, the mystical, the paranormal, the witchy, spiritual conversations, and grounded guidance for our well-being. No fluff, no new age BS, just soul talk, ancient knowing, a little cosmic weirdness, a chill, conscious space to come home to yourself. So get comfy, let's vibe out. You're connected in the den now, baby. Natalia Rivera. I'm so excited to sit down with you today. Thank you for taking the time to sit with me and have a little conversation. We're gonna just kind of jump right in and start a little bit basic. If you could please explain what it means to be neurodivergent.
Oh, it means, I guess to me, or
Sure. Like,
yeah.
because I know it's a spectrum, right? It's a
Mhm.
spectrum of understanding. Been, unfolding in my understanding. I started to research what it meant to be neurodivergent, autistic specifically in 2016. So it's been some time and I'm continuously evolving that understanding. So
Mhm.
I'm just curious. I've never had the opportunity to actually ask a therapist what
Yeah.
their understanding is.
Yeah. Well, to put it very simply, I'll use the words of a colleague. When I was coming through or going through my own journey of uncovering my neurodivergence, and I remember her saying that it's a sensory disorder, really. And I've seen this through many of my clients that are in the process of uncovering their own neurodivergence,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them, not in the same way, because neurodivergence has the most varied presentation. But every one of us has some kind of sensory thing going on. So whether it's
Yeah.
hyposensitivity or hypersensitivity, it's there
Mm-hmm.
and it affects us in these profound ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, if we're talking about autism, the common one is social emotional issues, and that can look like, and oftentimes it's other people saying this to you. It's not something because you
That's
just
like
think you're like
internalized.
everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
think everyone else feels this way, but it's usually other people saying like, I don't feel that you like care about me. I don't feel like you're empathizing with me enough. Like you're not, like you have your walls up, which is very nuanced. I don't want people to take that and run with it. Um, but there's a lot of that social emotional reciprocity that's missing, that can be learned
Mm-hmm.
too. That's not like that's
Right.
what I feel like a lot of people, there's a misconception, especially with high masking autism, which is it's level one if you
Yeah.
want to use the DSM diagnosis.
Yeah.
Um, and like your brain actually does catch up with developing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can not only learn these things, which we often do as kids and young adults into adulthood, sometimes we learn them in a maladaptive way. Like I was just posting this week about like people pleasing. And so we'll learn
I
in
have,
this,
yeah.
yeah, this way of like, this is how I'm going to do it, but it's often to a detriment to the self.
Okay.
But I do feel like, in a nutshell, like autism specifically is, a lot of sensory, a
Hmm.
lot of social emotional, which encompasses emotional regulation, and that's why it's misdiagnosed quite a bit.
Hmm. Okay. So I'm curious because you mentioned like about um your own neurodivergent experience. So is
Mhm.
that what you feel pulled you into like being in service to as a therapist?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Because I've
absolutely.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I've been in therapy. I've never worked with a therapist who specializes or works specifically with neurodivergent adults. So I appreciate your content so much. Like
Yeah. Thank you.
it's been so helpful. And I'm curious like what your approach is with neurodivergent adults who maybe have had a negative experience with therapy in the past.
That's like all of my clients
Oh,
almost.
for real? Oh
Yeah, yeah.
shit.
I
Okay.
always say like I'm the therapist that people come to when all other therapists have dropped the ball. And
Right.
I don't mean that like they didn't do their job because I
Yes.
also I spent a decade in therapy
Okay.
before I even became a therapist.
Right.
And I before I started really doing a deep dive and it became like my hyper focus, and still is my hyper focus. I'm still writing my dissertation, so I haven't
Amazing.
earned the title of doctor quite yet, but I'm very close.
Yeah,
And um, I had to slow down though because my business and it's just capacity is a real thing when it comes to
totally.
neurodivergence.
Yep.
And I got off track. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was saying my own path to neurodivergence, right?
Yes. Sorry, I usually follow the path of someone else, so I get off track too. We'll follow the curves wherever it takes
Yes.
us. But yeah,
Yes.
your own path.
Yeah, let me think. It'll come back to me. We were talking about oh yeah, me becoming a therapist because of my own experience. So the way that I realized that I was neurodivergent, which probably is relatable to a lot of other people, is that I was in trauma therapy and I was doing EMDR, which really
Mm-hmm.
worked for me, which is why I became an EMDR therapist.
Hmm.
And I did it for so long and I felt so good. I got to the other side. I wasn't triggered by these memories or thoughts anymore. I could talk about things without feeling triggered.
Hmm.
And yet there was still something. And I was like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
wrong? I've done all this work. And so I
Right.
started at the beginning of my journey. My friend or colleague that I quoted earlier about it's a sensory disorder.
Hmm.
I started following that path. I started following the highly sensitive person, and I read up about that, read a bunch of research about it, and then realized that the highly sensitive person is really just a neurodivergent person repackaged. And I started reading and, diving then into autism. And I read the very first book I read on autism was Devin Price's Unmasking
Okay.
Autism.
Okay.
And I related so much to it that it was shocking where I was like, I've always felt like an outsider. I've always felt like an outcast. Everything this person is talking about, I relate to. And then that catapulted, let me research how to like what research has been done with therapeutic approaches because I know what has worked for me and I know what has not.
Right.
And what has worked for me, would it work for other people? And
Hmm.
so I started researching that. And then I was just in the right position
Hmm.
to be able to offer that to people.
Hmm.
And so I decided to go that route and found that I love working with neurodivergent adults. I love it. And that's why I'm writing my dissertation on neurodivergent identity development. I'm focusing more on the like female BIPOC
Okay. Wow.
identity development because we
Yep.
are not looked at all.
Yep.
And I would love to see how it connects or maybe even doesn't connect through
Hmm.
culture.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think there is some of that influence with culture. Um, yeah. It's interesting you making those connections with the highly sensitive person because same, I went on that kind of that path and starting to research that. And again, I was like, well, this just feels like it's validating my autistic experience on top of like my spiritual connection too, because I do have theories
Mhm.
about neurodivergent beings having a more natural connection to the spirit world, to obviously to energy, but to um, different spiritual, I guess, modalities,
Mm.
psychic mediumship, telekinesis, telepathy. And so what I loved when I came across your work was that you do present it more spiritual, I guess, you
Yeah.
know. And then you saying letting me know you're a certified sound healer as well, and that you work with tarot. So I'm curious how you integrate those modalities within your therapeutic process and how that might vary to understanding specifically with the sound, with understanding there's like a sensory thing. It's interesting though because sound is a huge thing for me. It always has been in terms of regulation, and I have two autistic cousins as well. um I don't know if you would say correctly, like higher on the spectrum or
Mm.
higher needs, higher support,
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
um, who both love sound,
Hmm.
specifically the sound healing, the crystal bowls, and the. So yeah, I'm curious how you integrate those modalities in your and how
Yeah.
they might shift.
Yeah. So I don't integrate tarot. That's definitely
Okay.
just a me thing.
Okay.
I keep that very close to the chest, my
Gotcha.
spirituality and my private life, because I work with people of all that believe in all types of religions,
Yeah.
and I feel like the things that I believe in don't necessarily resonate with other people,
Totally. Yep.
which is fine,
Yeah.
and I still love the opportunity to work with them and see what they believe in and use their modality to help them overcome whatever is going on in their life. Sound, I integrate. And typically, I start bringing in sound in person, which is
Okay.
rare that I have somebody that wants to be in person. But I do integrate it also virtually by just giving them certain links and telling them what types of frequencies to listen
Gotcha.
to.
Yep.
So, what's really interesting about neurodivergence and sound is that there have been studies that show it really works for us,
Mhm.
especially with those that have more of an ADHD profile, which is really funny. Before I got diagnosed officially, I didn't think I had ADHD.
Mhm.
And then when I was going through the diagnosis process, I was like, oh man, I think I have ADHD
Right.
too.
Right.
But it was very, now looking in hindsight, now that I have more experience and everything, I'm like, of course you have ADHD.
Hmm.
You were just tempering it with cannabis. Like that's what was happening. You were medicated. Um, but I did a bunch of research on that. And so what happens typically where I'm like, okay, we need to slow you down is I'll have clients that say like I can't meditate. Like my brain's just moving too fast. I can't do it. It doesn't work for me. And people will hear that a lot. And
Hmm.
so in a traditional Western therapist would say like, well, yes, you can try harder or something like that.
Right.
Or so I've heard, right? I don't
Right.
want to like talk bad about any therapist. Everyone has their own modalities and their own style.
Yep.
When I hear that in my clinic, I say like, okay, Well, this is what I want you to do. I want you to start the morning because I always start with like, tell me what your routine is
Hmm.
because I can tell a lot by how you start your day and how you end your day. It's
Hmm.
very much like it's like storytelling, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I can tell a lot just by those two things. And I'll help them by telling them to listen to the frequencies. Because what happens is that the brain has no choice but to match the frequency of what they're hearing. So
Right.
if you think about that in a broader context, I have a lot of clients that swear they love living in cities, but wear
Hmm.
headphones all the time.
Hmm.
So how much do you really love a place if the only way that you can live there is by wearing headphones 24/7?
Right.
And you have to think about the level, and I'm just using noise because that's one of my highest spiking sensory sensitivities. How much do you love a place if, every sound is jarring? If you're
Yeah.
jumping at, literally
Yeah.
everything. And we really have to think about that. And so for my own unmasking process, I'm actually moving out of this beautiful home that I've been in for almost a full decade
Okay.
because it has taken, and I've been thinking about this for 2 years, by the way. You want to talk about stalling? I've been thinking about this for 2 years. I took a trip a couple years ago to Joshua Tree, and it was my first time going to Joshua Tree. I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey.
Okay.
And so I went to Joshua Tree and I was like, I literally cried because I was like, oh my God, I don't have to wear headphones here. This
Mm-hmm.
exists.
Hmm.
And my nervous system was just like,
Ah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like just powered down. And I was crying on my way back home.
Mm.
And I had like this revelation, I'm like, it's my house. It's where I live. I don't
Yeah.
like it there, but I'm so used to it. And this is another like this rigidity, right?
Yes.
With neurodivergence.
Yes.
We get so used to what we know and we're so scared of the unknown. We're so scared of change that we will sabotage ourselves and we'll stay in this
Yeah.
in something that doesn't actually work. Like we think it's working because we're
Mm.
tolerating it, but
Hmm.
it really doesn't. And so a lot of and I work with a lot of people who come to me when they burn out
Yeah.
completely. Like not like, oh, I need a 3-day vacation. Like I have been burnt out for 6 months and I cannot do this anymore. I
Hmm.
need to continue working. Um, and I use frequencies then too, right? Because now you're fight or flight. You're fighting,
Yeah.
your autism's fighting against the ADHD because there's a 70% comorbidity, right? So I just kind of assume until I'm presented with information otherwise that most people have both in some capacity.
Hmm.
And if I'm proven wrong through time, okay, cool, we'll go with that.
Hmm.
Um, and so it's much like a medical doctor when they're trying to find meds for you, it's trial and error. What's going to
Yeah.
work for you?
Yeah. Or
And if that
tweaking.
doesn't
Yeah.
work, cool, let's throw it out. Let's try something else. But we
Hmm.
need to find something, and frequencies are often part of that
Hmm.
because if you can't shut your brain down, we need to find something that can. And there's research behind this, which is why, oh my goodness, now it's going to escape my brain. It's called the safety, oh my gosh, safety pro? No, hold on. I'm going to Google it because I have access to it
Yeah.
and I haven't used it yet. The sound safety therapy. Let's see. Oh, safe and sound.
Okay.
That's close. It's called the Safe and Sound Protocol, and that's why this was developed because it works.
Mm.
And so, what it does is it has a set form of frequencies that you listen to that will just force your brain to match it, and your whole
Okay.
body calms down. And so, Safe and Sound Protocol is expensive. YouTube is free. And
Right.
I
Right.
try to help people out by saying, like, hey, this is what we know about frequencies.
Mm.
We know that ADHD can, we can use like certain frequencies to match that. Let's try this first before we start diving into other things.
Mhm. Okay, you touched on my brain's like ding 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 ding, putting pins in little things that you said because
Yeah.
I feel validated in what you're saying about the ADHD experience because that is something um someone else like I feel like I was also thinking this myself, but I've never been formally diagnosed. I've self-diagnosed,
Mhm.
and a friend of mine who works with neurodivergent children was like, "Are you sure you're not AUHD? Are you sure it's not ADHD and autism?" And I was like, I kind of think it is, but I don't feel right saying it for some reason. Like,
Mhm.
um, so I do want to talk a little bit about self-diagnosis,
Yeah.
because I know even like I'm in Canada, the process is similar in the US where it's lengthy and costly as well, which for me needs to change. Like needs to change.
Hmm.
Can we
Hmm.
talk about self-diagnosis and
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's either there or it's not, right?
Right.
So whether or not you pay the money, some people really want to know.
Yeah.
They want that, they want the diagnosis
Hmm.
because it will validate it, and it will give them a way forward. They really want to know.
Right.
Other people either don't have the means or they feel like they don't really need it. And as a therapist, it's very helpful for
Hmm.
me to be able to do an assessment and diagnose you, like right then and there because I have
Right.
all the information that I need. I don't need it.
Right.
It's going to take me longer to really suss out what's going on with you, right?
Okay.
I can hit on all these pain points, but it probably is going to take me a year if you
Mm.
really want, unless you want me to just throw a diagnosis at
So,
you.
yeah. Yeah.
It's going to take me a year. I have clients that I've been working with for multiple years now. And I'm thinking of this one client, BIPOC young woman, and she came in with some pretty severe trauma and traumatic experiences, highly spiritual. And she wanted to get off all of her meds.
Okay.
And she stopped cold turkey, despite my advice, like, yeah, don't do that. So if
Right.
anyone's like watching, please don't do that.
Yes.
You're gonna feel like you're crazy,
Hmm.
because you're taking away something that your brain is used to, and it takes time for the brain to reproduce those neurotransmitters and to get back online again. So I sat with her through all of that, and after about a month, her brain stabilized and she just moved forward. And I needed to unpack the trauma first before I could really see like what was underneath that.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of neurodivergent people, as we uncover more research about what actually traumatizes us, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I
Yes.
mean, we
Yeah.
could have sensory trauma. I mean, it's really that, if
Mm.
you grew up in a home, like for instance, I hate the big light,
Right.
right?
Me too.
A lot,
I
I think a
like
lot of
those
people,
candles and dim
yeah,
lights. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of people can identify with that. I hate the big light. And if you grew up in a home where you were constantly told or your feelings were disregarded,
Right.
right? Now you're gonna have sensory trauma.
Mm.
And now you're
I
gonna
never thought
think
about
just,
that.
yeah, because I can tolerate it. And so this is where adult diagnosis gets tricky, is
Yeah.
that a lot of, which is why I do Zoom and I clarify each thing too. And I
Hmm.
start to say like, well, you said this, but then you put that.
Right.
So why did you do that? And what I find is that a lot of people are like, well, because I can.
Mm.
So I can tolerate it. Well,
Mm.
yeah, we can tolerate a lot, but do you like it, right? And that's where it starts getting really tricky. It's a little bit easier to diagnose kids because they're very raw.
Yeah.
and they don't have this mask yet. Adults, it's different, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we could be talking about socializations. Like, yeah, I can go out and socialize. I
Mm-hmm.
can go to big crowds. Do I like it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Am I drinking? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I using things to cope? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I feel like we got a little off track with that, but I feel like it's also important too that when you are, if somebody is getting a diagnosis, and the the clinician isn't asking questions about your lived experience, and
Mm-hmm.
they're only going off of what you put on this piece of paper, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be skewed
Mm-hmm.
because we're masking hard. This is how we learned how to survive in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. That's been a difficult process for me, the unmasking. Um,
Mhm.
and just, yeah, learning about that, understanding how it shows up in my life, like understanding when, like trying to figure out when did I start masking, like I'm very much like a want to pull the threads kind of person,
Yeah.
and figure that out, and how it's shifting for me in my adult life. And I do find that I do struggle with certain things, specifically like you touched on, capacity, my energetic capacity in terms of socialization. I think a lot of people assume that I'm this outgoing, and I can be most definitely, but I easily can, have carry conversations, and I do think a lot of that is my neurodivergent brain, like is the curiosities that I move through. But my energetic capacity in terms of socialization, texting's a big one for me. I really struggle with texting,
Mm-hmm.
really struggle with that. Speaking with like my friends who have children, if they get on a FaceTime with me and their kids are in the background, as I love kids and love my nieces and nephews, it's overwhelming for me to be on a call like that.
Yeah.
But then it's like this difficulty of people looking at me and thinking, well, you don't seem autistic, or you don't seem like you have ADHD, you don't seem autistic enough, like that's where I feel like I struggle, as I'm sure so many others do.
Yeah.
So, is there any type of guidance that you can give for both neurotypicals and neurodivergence in terms of like boundary setting? Because I feel like that you touched on the people pleasing, with
Mhm.
neurodivergence. So, any sort of guidance to help people navigate that?
Yeah. You know, people are going to act and say things that we have no control over, and I'm directly addressing the people who like to say, like, no, you're not. Like, they're some certified psychiatrists, psychologists that can actually, do that.
Right.
Um, they're going to act however they're going to act. And there's really nothing that we can do. I mean, I dealt with that myself with people who they were also licensed therapists, psychologists that
Mm,
were actually supervising me,
wow.
saying like, "Well, I don't see that." And I'm like, "Well, you only
Wow.
know me in a professional sense. You don't see what my life is like,
Right. Right. Yeah.
behind closed doors." You ask my boyfriend if
Mm-hmm.
I am neurodivergent, he's going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Hell yeah, you are. You're
Right.
weird."
Right.
You are so weird. So, um, so, going through that and feeling invalidated, I think, I mean, I was self-diagnosed before I got a legitimate diagnosis. And to be honest with you, the only reason I even got a diagnosis is because like I said, I'm still working on my doctorate,
Mm-hmm.
and my unmasking came to a point where, which I feel like a lot of people can resonate with this as well. Like sometimes you just hit a wall and you just can't do it anymore. You can't mask anymore.
Yeah.
You get to know yourself on such an intimate level. And, me being in therapy for 10 years and then becoming a therapist, you can only imagine. I know
Right.
myself pretty well at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't. do it anymore. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm irritable. This is why it's affecting me. I can't be in cities.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't ask me to, it's too much. And then you want me to perform, and I'm just not in a place where I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I got it was because the only way I was going to get accommodations is with a legitimate diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it for a very specific reason. But I do think that if you or anyone could learn to understand themselves in such an intimate way, you no longer need validation from other people.
Yeah.
You don't even, I mean, sometimes it depends on who you're talking to and who's in your trusted circle. But I advise against, unless you have a really tight-knit
Mm-hmm.
um, relationship with your job, with people who feel safe. Like sometimes even family can be really invalidating.
Yeah.
You don't have to use the words autism. You don't have to use the words ADHD. You don't have to say anything. You can simply say exactly what it is, where it's like, you know what, this is too loud. I'm going to go step outside.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting really overwhelmed with how many people are here. I'm actually going to take off and go home. I feel like I'm going to cry. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to walk away now. So just kind of naming exactly what it is, because some people, they hear the word autism, they hear the word ADHD, and they go, "Oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
here you go.
Yes.
Here
Yeah.
you go with the excuses," right? Which I've heard from people as well. I mean, I got rid of those people. He wasn't family.
Yeah.
So it was like, you gotta go. Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna, everything I say, you're going to twist into a dig at me, like you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
The people who really care about you and love you are going to say, oh, okay, yeah, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want me to do? My boyfriend loves the big light.
Yeah.
Guess what? That big light's off every time I'm in the house. He does not, it's off. And he's neurodivergent too. He was diagnosed with ADHD, but I think there's some, there's a little more under there probably.
Yeah.
But we both really complement and are what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say like sympathize with each other's neuroses, but you know,
You just get
we're
you
we're
buy.
accommodating.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're accommodating.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really works versus, I've dated neurotypical people who, if it's not affecting them, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are some people where like that's really what it is, and coming to an acceptance that not everybody is going to be on board. And yeah, maybe that's some people have that in their lives. If it's not affecting them, they don't care. Radical acceptance that that's how they are,
Yeah.
moving on, you
Right.
know. And that's harder with family, and I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, setting boundaries around that is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if every time you say you're autistic and they invalidate you, then stop saying it
Mm-hmm.
and just name, like I said before,
The
name exactly
experience.
what it is. Name
Yeah.
the experience, right?
Yeah. 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 You've touched on a couple things too, like especially with like the self medicating or the coping mechanisms. And it's interesting because I guess learned to unmask, I guess you could say, during
Hmm.
COVID, because I was in lockdown by myself. So I had huge freaking awakenings and shifts in my
Yeah.
reality. And just that was a hard but beautiful time of my life. Um, but that is when I learned how I was masking, especially in social situations, um, especially with alcohol. And I'm actually sober now, um, which took some work and dedication. I still medicate with cannabis before bed, um, where I was actually coping with cannabis throughout my days for a
Yeah.
long time, but
Yeah.
now it's an evening thing. But like you were touching on earlier, it took some like tweaking and stuff. And the alcohol for me was a huge one where I felt like I'm not really, I want to be myself around people, right? Like I'm myself, but with a fuzzy filter on, right? And so that was a big thing for me too. Can we maybe explain what masking is for those that don't really understand what that means?
Yeah, so masking could be as simple as pretending the big light doesn't bother you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It could be you're sitting in, and this is where it's like we learn to mask, right? Where in school, if you think about since elementary school, like it's raining right now here in the Bay Area. If I were to go into a classroom and I was a child and the teacher wanted to have every single light on, you had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And
I
when
never
you
thought
are
about that.
Yeah, and so you learn like, well, this is where it comes in again. Well, I can tolerate it, but like
Right.
let's look at so I never knew I had a light sensitivity because I masked so hard. But then if you looked at because I was a teacher for some years, and
Okay.
my classroom, I never turned the big light on. This is pre
Right.
even thinking about
Right.
neurodivergence. I had twinkle lights all over the classroom.
Mm.
I just never turned it on.
Yeah.
At home, I always had candles. All the lights were off. So looking at your habits when you're in a natural flow will tell you a lot more about yourself
Mm.
than how you are out in society. Um, One of the things that I often see, and this happens as well with me when people mask, can you go out and socialize and be in big groups? Sure, you can, but how do you feel afterwards?
Right.
How depleted are you? How tired are you? How fatigued are you? Often I hear like, "Oh, I don't know why I'm so tired. Oh my God." Well, what did your last couple days look like?
Hmm.
And then you hear like, "Oh, my family had this big party," or I had to go to this work event. I was like traveling. I had to go to, something big. And you start to see if you start to connect those dots. Do you feel fatigued every single time you're done socializing?
Yeah.
That's a sign that you're masking, right? Or maybe doing you some, and I don't want to say like everybody's like this because there's some neurodivergent people that really love socializing and don't get depleted, right? They're like the extroverted neurodivergent people. But there are signs, like I noticed in my life, which is why I ended up starting my own business.
Okay.
Um, I cannot, it takes so much out of me to travel to a place in the morning. Um,
Same.
so much out of me that I was like, and I vote like every other ADHDer that has tried to like keep a job. It's not that I was a terrible employee. Was I a late employee? Absolutely. If you want to equate that with terrible, like if you're one of those
Right.
people that
Yeah.
are,
Right.
super timely. But I often in the jobs I excelled at, it would be overlooked.
Mm.
Well, she does a really good job with everything else, so we're going to let her roll in here
Right.
10 minutes late.
Right.
So, I had a lot of that going on, but I would come home and I would just be depleted. And I think I mentioned how I did, asset management, earlier on, and my mental health, looking back on it, I'm realizing like, yeah, because you were masking every day, all day, my mental health just went down.
Hmm.
From the outside, I looked like I had everything. I had a house really young. I had a good career really young. Um, People thought I was much older than I was, and now it's great because now I'm older and people think I'm much
Yeah.
younger than I than I am.
Same.
And but on the inside, I was, chronically depressed, going like in waves of depression. I just couldn't kick it. My anxiety was so high all the time. It was like I was running on adrenaline. And my mental health really took a turn, and I just had no capacity for emotions whatsoever,
Mm.
which is really interesting that now I'm a therapist because now I
Right.
teach people how to have capacity for
Right.
emotions. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, I lived it. I went through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one of the most stubborn people you will
Mm-hmm.
ever meet. So if I can do it, I really have that thing. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
I have this one client that always asks me, she's younger, she's really cute, and she's always like, "How are you so calm?"
Mm.
And I want to tell her, like, it took a lot of like the horrors
Yes.
of emotional dysregulation
Mm-hmm.
and soul searching to
Mm-hmm.
get to this point. And I'm still unmasking. Like this move that I'm
Same.
doing
Yeah.
currently is me unmasking.
Yeah. I can.
I don't belong in a city. I
Mm-hmm.
tried. I've been trying for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't me.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like city center. I'm like city adjacent.
Right.
And it's still like for the past 2 years, I haven't even shopped um, in a local grocery store because it's too crowded.
Mm.
And I noticed that every time I tried to park, it was, a nightmare. And then I go in and just grabbing like three things is taking me 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, for me, it comes up, and this is why a lot of people are misdiagnosed. Often, like depression and anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, those are the two common
Yeah.
ones. And then when it's really severe, it's BPD, bipolar, or something. Um, but I started to notice as I was unmasking and being real, connecting with my body through yoga, through meditation, and doing all the things.
Mm-hmm.
I would go into this grocery store and I would be there for maybe like 10 minutes and I started getting really irritable. My mood just tanked.
Mm-hmm.
I would go in like, oh, what a lovely Saturday
Right.
afternoon.
Yeah.
I would leave like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm
Yes.
like, I don't want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
this is not, I don't like that person. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
that person to come out just because I'm going to a grocery store. So I
Mm-hmm.
started driving all the way to the burbs.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like everything is taking twice as long, three
Yeah.
times as long, but I'm a lot calmer. And this sounds like the simplest thing. And this is why a lot of people will be like, oh, neurodivergent. No, it makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me
Entirely.
to be, and when we're talking about like, I'm thinking about like partnership too, because I wasn't, had relationships that didn't work because I was just so irritable
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
and not understanding and then not having really like understanding partners either. I'm not going to put it all on me,
Right.
but
I feel
not
you.
having
Yeah.
partners that really cared about my experience either. That it took a while for me to realize these little things made a huge
Mhm.
difference.
I feel like you're literally looking into my soul right now. Like there's so many things that I'm like, same, same, same. Like
Yeah.
I too went through a um, huge burnout, depression, anxiety. Also feel like looking back was misdiagnosed as well. The irritability in some relationships also. And I don't, I feel like if I look back, I think I've only been with one neurodivergent partner. And so now I've been like, I don't think I can date a neurotypical again. Now that I've really understood myself or I'm learning to understand myself more, uh, looking back now, I'm like, well, I see why a lot of those relationships didn't work. They were great. There's definitely great aspects of them, but like you touched on, people not having the understanding or be willing to, support, understand, break things down. So yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like you're literally looking
Yeah.
into my life right now.
Yeah, and I think, with all neurotypes too, right? Because not no two people are going to be alike. Like I mentioned earlier, my
Yeah,
boyfriend and I, he loves light.
right.
I have a really good friend of mine who's also neurodivergent. Same thing. I can't see anything. Turn all the lights on. We get along great, and yet I think that's key, whether you have a neurodivergent partner or a neurotypical partner if they are not willing to understand you
Mm-hmm.
and and have the ability or capacity to make those small changes so you can be comfortable,
Hmm.
it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Because even a neurotypical partner can love you enough to be like, oh, that hurts your eyes. I'm going to shut it off then. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
Even a neurotypical partner can be like, that specific grocery store gives you anxiety.
Hmm.
Okay, let's go to this different one, or let's have the groceries delivered, right? It's these small shifts.
Yeah.
Um, and I do work with couples, and it's really interesting. I don't primarily work with couples, but there are some, people I will take on. And it's interesting, and I think couples therapists will agree, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stuff online about it too, where like you can see pretty clearly when two people are really a mismatch.
Yeah.
And that consideration goes a long way.
Hmm.
And I feel like if it's too much for you or a person to shut the big light off, if it's too much for a person to drive, maybe you have anxiety driving, or
Hmm.
you're that type of ADHD that like you're like I suck at driving because my attention is all over the place, and they can't do that for you. I'm not really sure that that is the
Yeah.
right person for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. You're talking about my parents. My mom can't drive. She doesn't like to drive. So my
Yeah.
dad does all the driving. But
Mhm.
happily, took on
Yeah.
that role. And but in both of them, I see how their neurodivergence can sometimes clash with each other.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
I'm helping them to even understand what it all is. I think they're slowly getting there. But I think that's a huge thing too, is like someone in the family kind of breaks the cycle and does the self-diagnosis of, oh, I am neurodivergent, and then looking at your parents, looking at your caretakers, being like, oh shit, I see it in them as well, and seeing how it kind of extends. I've
Hmm.
done this deep dive through my lineage, right, on both sides, and then seeing the cultural differences as well. We were kind of touching on that earlier. I'm coming from mixed backgrounds. I see the neurodivergence in my mother's side, the Scottish side, versus my father's side, Afro Caribbean
Hmm. Hmm.
ways, which can be a little bit more, I feel like, uh, critical, maybe,
Okay.
in terms of anything mental health related, or, so that's been kind of interesting to navigate. But, anyways, I want to talk. I know our time, I'm mindful of our time. Somatic healing, because that is a huge thing for me. And
Hmm.
just just first of all, learning to appreciate and love and care for my body, but healing through somatic practices. How do you integrate that um for neurodivergent people?
Yeah. So when I started my practice, the first thing that I did was offer ecotherapy.
Okay.
And I live currently right next to like hiking trails. So I would do in-person hiking sessions, not like, crazy hikes, but
Right.
just like, enough to get it moving. We think a lot better. And I think this is, again, spans all neurotypes, but is really important for neurodivergent people.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I hear a neurodivergent person say, and they're able-bodied, because I don't want to like
Right.
a lot of neurodivergent people are struggling through chronic pain and chronic illness. So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to push something that's going to further harm someone. But if
Mm-hmm.
they're able-bodied and they tell me they're not working out and they don't have any movement practice, that's the first thing that needs to get
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
because our nervous systems are extra, extra sensitive. We
Mm.
retain energy. So, say we get triggered by a big light, we get triggered by some big emotional thing that happened. Um, like yesterday, one of the things I was mentioning, me and my boyfriend were buying a house. We thought we were going to be closing on this house, and it didn't happen.
Oh,
And the sellers decided that they're not going to sell.
oh
And
shit.
now, I was really upset because I was super
Mm,
excited about this. And so that was a big emotional blow for me. And I had, a major reaction. And the first thing I thought of is like, I need to go to the gym. I need to go sit in a hot tub. I need to go sit in the sauna. I need something to get all of this radiating like horrible energy, because what happens is we get triggered and we're holding it in the nervous system much longer than a neurotypical person is. A neurotypical person, um,
I didn't know
without,
that.
yeah, without trauma. So a neurotypical person without trauma, because if a neurotypical person has trauma, it can have the same effect.
Right.
Um, can feel something and, typically kind of like let it go, do a little bit and it just kind of goes. A neurodivergent person holds it in their nervous system so much. And this is how like chronic pain is formed too. Like, and why
Okay.
chronic issues are so prevalent
Right.
among us is because we're like,
Inter-
constantly triggering. You think about what a
Shit. Never
trigger
thought about
does,
that.
right? And like, even if you just think about your nervous system, right? If you're like,
Mm.
a lot of people are clenching their jaws. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people
Like
don't
the
realize
shoulder.
they're
Yeah.
going like this with their
Right.
fists. Their
Right.
shoulders are like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do not release that,
Mm-hmm.
your muscles are just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and your nervous system is working overtime. And now you're going to develop something that you weren't initially going to if
Right.
you moved, if you stretched, if you did some kind of something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I highly, highly recommend as find some kind of movement practice that works for you. I love neurodivergent people in sports because
Mm-hmm.
they are worked to the bone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people realize how much that's saving them.
Yeah.
Um, even if they don't realize they're neurodivergent yet.
Right.
And
Right.
but for somatic, like if we're talking about like just real therapeutic modality, somatic stuff, which is why I integrate it into what I do, is super important. You can't heal without it, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Agreed.
Um, a lot of, and this is why you hear a lot of neurodivergent people say like talk therapy doesn't work. You're right, it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
because what's happening is living inside your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's great we're external processors, so we can talk and talk and talk. We can talk in circles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do that often. I'll start
Yep.
talking in circles. Oops,
Yep.
sorry. And because you're processing, and it
Yeah.
takes a while for us to process. But what really needs to happen is we need to build safety inside the body, and that only starts with recognizing what's happening.
Mm,
So many neurodivergent people are stuck on running on adrenaline and
right.
cortisol. They're not eating. I mean, I used to be like this too.
I have
I
to
would
like
work.
remind myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd work, 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 work. I'd tell myself that there's no time to eat.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time for that, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
really had to learn how to, and then I would wonder why I went from 0 to 100 so fast, right? It's,
Mm-hmm.
well, because your body is stressed out.
Yeah.
It thinks it's dying because you're not giving it food. It's
Right.
running on limited resources, and that
Right.
is inevitably going to affect the type of mood that you're in. It has a huge, diet and whether or not you're eating. So I don't want to just keep it on like, well, yeah, then go eat in and out or go eat like fast food or processed food. And that's
Mm-hmm.
going to have yeah, you're eating, but it's also going to directly affect your mood as well. So
Yeah.
you have
Yes.
to learn um, what types of foods that you should be eating, what you shouldn't. Again, I'm getting off track. Let's go back to somatics.
I appreciate it all. I think it's all
So,
needed and necessary
yeah,
conversation.
caught myself. Um, but with somatic therapy, you really learn. I wish I went on that tangent to try to say, like, you learn with somatic therapy how to connect to your body.
Yeah.
It's the first time often that people feel allowed to stay still,
Mm-hmm.
and to really feel like their toes all the way to their head. And it's really interesting. Usually, like that's where I start with people is body scans. Because if you just allow it, it's really interesting what people pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're holding a lot of your stress. Like there's a lot of research shown, and I identify with this because when I really started getting serious about like stretching and making sure I was doing things, but there's a lot of research on how much trauma is held in the legs and
Mm.
how that direct correlation to Alzheimer's and dementia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I
Hmm.
and this was like after I had this experience, my business was taking off. I was really busy. Um, and I started neglecting my body again. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stretch. I'm just gonna stretch, 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 stretch. And I was doing my yoga stretches and my legs were like shaking as I was stretching. And all of a sudden something released
Mm-hmm.
and I was just bawling, like on the floor, just crying, um, crying over things I was still processing from childhood, crying from the overwhelm of having to move so fast, so suddenly. It
Hmm.
was what I asked for, and this is where, this is where some the spirituality comes in too.
Yep.
I asked for this, and God, the universe, whatever you believe in, was like, okay, here you go. Now
Hmm.
handle it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
now you just have to handle it. And so I was crying from all of those things. And it's funny because I feel like that was the final, this was a couple of years ago now. I haven't had an experience like that since. And I feel like even a couple of years wasn't that long ago. Um, almost feel like that was really like the last of what I was holding
Mm-hmm.
inside of me. And ever since then, I have made it, even if I miss a workout or I don't work out for a week, I am always stretching, always stretching, always trying to get my personally for me, I've always been a flexible person
Hmm.
and maintaining that's really important to me. It feels really good. So even if I can't work out, I'll do that. But it starts with understanding, again, going back, where you're holding things in your body,
Hmm.
which you got to start at square one. Body scan. Where do you feel it? Okay, let's start working on it. Trauma therapy like EMDR focuses on processing the trauma once you have a good handle on yourself already. So I feel like a lot of people think that, oh, I was told I need an EMDR therapist. I'm just going to go to an EMDR therapist and we're going to start doing trauma right away. I get a lot of ADHDers like this.
Hmm.
We want to move fast, but we
Right.
don't understand that moving fast means slowing down. You
Hmm.
have to slow down.
Hmm.
Um, EMDR therapy is only good for people who already have a handle and have a really good understanding of their bodies, their coping mechanisms. They can calm themselves down when they're dysregulated, because EMDR therapy really starts to dig up it'll dig up stuff you haven't even thought about.
Right.
It'll dig up stuff that's extraordinarily triggering. And if you don't have a good coping strategy already, if you cannot calm yourself down, you don't know
Hmm.
how,
Hmm.
it could be really harmful
Yeah.
to your mental state, to your ability to function.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also really good because what it's doing is you're going in, right? So you're using bilateral stimulation to keep the mind occupied, to move the energy around. And your mind is going back to memories, connecting to feelings about
Hmm.
those memories. And then a lot of people will shed, lots of tears, crying, like, oh my God, I haven't thought about that in so long.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's a memory that they don't necessarily want to think about,
Hmm.
but understand that it's affecting their lives and it still has control over their waking life.
Right.
Um, and just that, I mean, it's just so crazy that bilateral stimulation. Some people use buzzers and it goes buzz, 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 buzz. When I'm virtual, I like to do like just tapping like this.
Okay.
Um, and then you cry it out. You keep rating because you're calming your body down by doing this too.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the person's ready, we reprocess it and you're actually like getting rid of it, right?
Right.
Whereas CBT is like, let's just change your behavior.
Yeah.
Let's just think differently about this
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
CBT has its place. I don't want to say that it's not useful. It is useful. It's not useful, in my opinion, to heal trauma.
Okay.
So some for neurodivergent people,
Yeah.
somatics all the way,
Yeah.
all the way.
I totally vibe with that. Like I said,
Yeah.
like um especially mentioning like sporty kids. Like I was highly athletic, like very competitive in all the competitive sports up until my teen years. And then when I look back and I look at the shift in my mood or the shift in my behaviors, was a large part of that because I wasn't super active anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga became a huge focus for me in probably around the time actually of my self diagnosis. Not that that was planned, but now when I think back, I'm like, oh, hang on a sec. And just even seeing that, and you're talking about stretching and everything, and just I find too it's helpful as like it's just mindful, like a mindful practice where I can really be fully immersed in myself and my energy, my thoughts feel more streamlined maybe or grounded, and I can really focus on my breath and move through my body and stuff. So yeah, that's a huge. Yeah, you're touching on a lot that I'm like, oh, okay, I got to reflect on some things once we're done talking.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the spirituality aspect. We've obviously been kind of grazing on it here and there. You mentioned, I believe in your notes, that you're switching or you've been making a shift from Catholicism, or did I misread that wrong?
Well, I was raised Roman Catholic,
Okay.
so I'm Italian American and Puerto Rican,
Mm-hmm.
and I was raised on the East Coast on the Jersey Shore. And so, if anyone's familiar with the Jersey Shore, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Catholics. They're either Italian or they're Irish,
Right, right,
or
right.
or they're Puerto Rican, or any other type. But it's typically it's a Catholic town for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. And I even as a kid, like I had questions, right?
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah.
I had questions,
Mm-hmm.
and those questions were not welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I gravitated towards um like paganism pretty young
Okay.
and started looking into other things pretty young. I've landed on Puerto Rican mediumship. That is what I highly identify with. And I really did that like on accident. It's almost like my innate
Mm-hmm.
sense of self, like knew exactly what I needed. And
Yeah.
so for people who don't know that um, so it's called a spiritismo or spiritism in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shamanic religion. So it's
Okay.
highly nature based. We don't believe in like sacrificing anything, and
Mm-hmm.
not to like throw shade on any religion that does, because there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yep.
But this particular one does not, and I highly identify with that because
Mm-hmm.
I love animals.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even like kill a spider, even though I hate spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't kill rodents.
Yeah.
I capture, like I have cats, so like they'll bring in rodents and I'll capture them and put them outside. I
Yeah.
just can't do it. I can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I found it, I've always done therapy, but then had like spiritual advisors on the side
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I felt, therapy couldn't do what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been, like I said, living here for like almost 10 years. And during COVID, I mean, I really just found the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and I like lived in these hills.
Mm-hmm.
I lived up here. I just wanted to be outdoors. I found a lot of connection with nature. Um, and it's really not something that I can explain except for people. I feel like people who have this experience that I had usually haven't when they're on hallucinogens.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that. But I was not on
Yeah.
hallucinogens. It was very much like this is what I believe in. And
Mm-hmm.
then I found through a spiritual advisor that did like Afro-Caribbean or Afro-Cuban religions. I found a spiritismo and I read
Mm-hmm.
up on it like I do with everything else.
Yeah.
I'm like, now I
Same.
need to deep dive and what is this? And once again, just like I found autism and I'm like, oh wow, that's me. I
Mm-hmm.
started looking into a spiritismo, and I was like, yeah, that's me.
Mhm.
That's me. I've had this kind of raw gift since I was a child that I still haven't really honed that well.
Mhm.
But now I have a spiritual practice that it works for me.
Yeah, I
It
love
works
that.
for me, and you know, I I do feel blessed and watched over by my ancestors, not only on the Italian side, but on my Puerto Rican side.
Mhm.
And I really felt this call back to ethnic roots
Yeah.
and not through colonialism. And
Mhm.
that is what works for me.
Mhm.
That's not what's going to work for everyone else, right? Like my boyfriend is Christian,
Okay.
and I respect his beliefs just like
Mhm.
he respects mine.
Mhm.
And, I always tell him, like, what I practice has Christianity like woven into it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's not like I'm like praising the devil, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of misconceptions about
100%.
what we
Yes.
do.
Yes. Yeah.
And so and again, I grew up in a church. I grew up going to mass. What he found, we've talked about it, and I have another really good friend who's a Christian, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the church that isn't very holy.
Mhm.
And I feel like people who I guess like engross themselves in that culture, you either see it or you turn a blind eye to it.
Mhm.
Either way, you're seeing it, right?
Mhm.
Whether you want to see it or not. And
Yep.
so I do know a lot of devout Christians that found their own practice outside of what was going on there, just like I
Mhm.
found my own practice outside
Mhm.
of what other people were doing.
Mhm.
And like I said earlier, like it really depends on the person, and I respect all beliefs.
Mhm.
If it works for you, it works for you.
Mhm.
And it's healing to
Yes.
have some kind of practice, some kind of belief.
Absolutely. And how would you say you distinguish or between spirituality that um actually helps to heal or helps people connect versus that what would maybe reinforce trauma?
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm thinking of a client right now.
okay, yeah.
I um when it's hindering growth and it's constantly harming.
Mm,
So, if every single time you go to church or you go to a spiritual house, whatever it is, doesn't even have to be a church, it could just be a
mhm,
spiritual house, whatever it is, and you leave feeling worse, and you leave feeling depressed, and you leave feeling unwanted,
mhm,
this isn't, it's not working. This is not how you should feel,
mhm,
leaving a house of worship, regardless of what they're worshiping, right? Um, and unfortunately, a lot of times that, especially with autistic people, we really have a hard time with change. This goes
mhm.
back to what I was saying in the beginning.
Yes.
We get so comfortable doing something.
Mhm,
We get so used to saying, well, I can, like I'm dealing with it, right?
mhm.
This a place of worship is not, you're not supposed to deal with it,
Right.
right? You're
Right.
supposed to be being fed by it. You're
Yes.
supposed to be growing from it, not
Yes.
feeling less than, not
Mhm,
feeling unwanted or
mhm,
ostracized.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because I do, especially with like we do heavily rely on certain belief systems and mm, yeah, structure, I guess, as well. And yeah, I don't know. I am seeing a lot of bypassing and gaslighting happening um right now. I feel like
Mm,
it's pretty prevalent. Um and I just yeah, I for me, it's like I can approach it with a bit more of a grounded awareness, but not everybody is there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I appreciate when I do come across um a practitioner that has like a foot on each side, you know what I mean? Like a balance there. I feel like I'm talking your ear off. I just want to, before we close out, is there anything that you feel is needed for people that to understand, or maybe that's misrepresented or misunderstood in neurodivergent spaces that you feel maybe needs a bit more attention or focus?
Whew.
Yeah, like the list could go on and on, I'm sure.
Like, I do have something. I don't want to get canceled for saying it, you
No,
know.
there's no cancel culture here.
Oh, there is. um, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. So there is a common theme in the community that I've seen that rallies against capitalism,
Mm,
which I understand is highly, uh, it's annoying,
hmm.
right? And I've lived it too, where I can't do a 9 to 5 structure. I can't do
Same,
it.
same.
Um, I can't, and I struggled as a young adult a lot. Like, how am I going to make it in
Mm,
this
mm,
world? Like, it does not come as easily to me as it does to everyone else. And this is before neurodivergence. I have been told I am lazy. I have been told, I had one supervisor when I was training to become a therapist, because I'm a marriage and family therapist currently right now working on my doctorate. Um, I was told by a, supervisor that I was like the worst employee he's had in 25. I've been told a lot of things.
hmm.
And it was really because it just was not working with who I actually was.
Hmm.
This world is not built for
Right,
neurodivergent people. It is
right.
not.
Yeah.
And yet it's not going to change.
Hmm.
And I feel like when I see things where people are rallying so much against it, I almost feel it's moot.
Mm,
And I feel like it's a waste of resources, like
right,
personal
right,
energy,
right.
energetic resources. We all of us have talents. Neurodivergent people are some of the most creative,
Agree,
authentic
agree.
people
Hmm.
that I have ever met. Um, and environment matters,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I hear a lot of I can'ts, or I don't
Mm,
hear it. I see it on social media.
mm,
See a lot of I can'ts. And I just urge people to, some people really can't and they leave the country, and that's fine, right?
hmm, hmm,
Sometimes a lifestyle somewhere else is better,
hmm.
I almost feel like a part of me still holds on to that, right? Like if
Yeah.
any point in time I can just go to Spain
Hmm.
and, they take 2.5 hour breaks in the middle of the day. That's way more my speed
Right.
than,
Yes.
than,
100%.
than, than living here.
Yeah.
I just happen to have made, a life for myself here that works.
Hmm.
And I think all of us can do that.
Hmm.
But really looking at the type of environment that you're in and having the guts to change that environment
Hmm.
and to change that, because some people are living in environments where they're saying I can't because other people are telling them that
Right.
they're lazy, that they're good for nothing, that they're not
Hmm.
smart, that it's not going to work.
Hmm.
Um, and it will work. I was told the same things.
Hmm.
Just had this conversation with someone yesterday where I'm like, don't tell me I can't because I'm going to show you that I can. Like that is the biggest, I saw someone put this on Instagram earlier today too, where it's like ADHD works off of spite.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah.
and I feel like I relate to that because
Mm.
you go ahead and tell me I can't do something and I'm going to show
Yes.
you I can.
Yes.
I moved 3,000 miles away from my family because I heard that a lot.
Hmm.
with
Yeah.
nothing. So, again, not everybody is me. Not everybody has these resources. Not everybody has, we're very different.
Hmm.
And I also implore people, implore them, please, capitalism isn't going to change. So you have to
Hmm.
change your environment.
Hmm.
So whether that's changing where you live and going somewhere where you feel more supportive, more creative, more able to feel good about the things that you're doing, or if it's just like moving to Spain,
Yeah.
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Um, but staying in that loop, that neurodivergent loop where we're constantly like once you get in that negativity loop, it's really hard to get out.
Hmm.
But it's not serving you either.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that so much. Uh, yeah. Solid freaking reflections. So the people can find you on Instagram and TikTok at Awaken Therapy SF.
Yes. Hmm.
And people can work with you one on one online.
Yeah, so I'm typically pretty booked, but every now and then I have space. I also have employees that I train to do the same things that I do,
Okay.
because it may not be me that you work with, but
Right.
you might vibe with, it doesn't have to be me. It can be
Right.
someone else that you maybe vibe with
Hmm.
more than me. I'm very direct. I'm from the East Coast and I'm autistic. Like
Yeah.
some people don't like that.
Right.
And I have some other therapists on board that are, they're really good, maybe a little bit softer,
Hmm.
same interventions though. Yeah.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sitting with me, chatting with me, letting me pick your brain, like validating my experience. Like this was like a healing conversation for me too. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
great. You're welcome.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you having me.
Thank you.